Hello and welcome back to my channel, welcome back to another review. I want to start off by saying thank you to Roadster App. They basically sent me some free goodies the other day, mainly because I'm a UK ambassador and I've been running sort of a few events for them. But yeah, so thank you to the guys. I'm not paid in any way, I'm not sponsored by them, it's just simply sort of a collaboration type thing. But yeah, if you don't know what Roadster is, Roadster App is basically Instagram but just for cars and car guys. It's a really cool little app, obviously still sort of like in development phases, still working on new things, but there's a lot of cool features on there. But yeah, if you haven't got it already and you're sort of like a car guy or car girl, be sure to go and check it out. I'll put a link somewhere in the description below so you can go and see the app and find out a bit more about it. But anyway, onwards and let's get on with the review. So today you join me from a BMW M240i. Now you may remember I drove an M235i about a year ago roughly, which I was really impressed with, you know, considering it's sort of classed as a not really a full-blown M car. So M240i. Well, M240i is sort of, you know, clues in the name. It's obviously a newer version of the M235i. It's got the same engine, however produces more horsepower. So this one produces 335 horsepower, whereas the previous gen produced about 315, something like that. So about 15 horsepower upgrade on that, and produces 367 foot-pounds of torque, I think. 37 foot-pounds of torque more than the M235i. So yeah, quite a big increase when you consider, you know, it's only sort of like a newer version of it. And yeah, it's quite an interesting car actually, because if you compare a lot of the stats with the BMW M2, on paper, this car is very close in terms of, you know, horsepower per ton. I think this produces about 228 horsepower per ton, whereas the M2 produces 232 horsepower per ton. So it's really close stats when you consider, you know, BMW are trying to make a bit of a differentiation between this car and a full-blown M car being the M2, and the reason being for that is that the M2 is actually 100 kilos heavier than this car. So that's, you know, that is the reason behind the stats. But is it any livelier? You know, is it better to drive? Now, I understand I've never driven an M2, so you know I wouldn't be able to comment too much on it. But I'm going to try and compare this car to the M235i if I remember roughly what that car drove like. Obviously that car was a bit different to this one. It had the M Performance exhaust. I had a few different mods when I looked under the bonnet as well. But all in all, you should be able to make some sort of close comparison. This car also has the 8-speed ZF gearbox, which is very, you know, it's really engaging, it's really good. Gears, instant, you know, there's no qualms about it. It's a very good gearbox. You still get the usual sort of sporty modes that you can choose from on the car. You know, you've got your sort of comfort, sport plus, you know, all the usual sort of BMW stuff. And it's quite nice to be able to drive this after I've driven the M4 as well. So if you haven't seen my previous video, go check it out. But yeah, I filmed M4 last week. This is with that engine, new engine and sort of torque figures. This produced 0 to 60 in 4.6 seconds, which is, you know, really quick considering, you know, this it's not a big car, it's not a heavy car. It rates about 1450, I think, kilos wise. So yeah, not a massively heavy car. So while we are stuck in a small traffic type area, let's talk about the interior. The interior is really nice. Everything's soft touch, everything is sort of ergonomically placed in terms of, you know, everything is reachable from the driver's seat. It's got this sort of weird aluminium carbon effect around the dash and the sort of door handles, which I'm not a huge fan of. I prefer the actual carbon fibre stuff. And then the majority of stuff is sort of soft touch plastics, although that's a bit yeah, sort of soft tough plastics, although they're not really that soft. And there's sort of like fake leather here on the door cards as well. Usual sort of screen for sat nav and multimedia and the rest of it. Seats, I believe, are the same as the ones I drove in the M235i. Really comfortable, really supporting, quite good. Sort of like an in-between a bucket seat and a GT Tourer type seat. So yeah, they do the job nicely. And again, good driving position you get in most BMWs. You sort of sit, your chin sort of sits sort of level with the top of the steering wheel. Obviously, it depends what your driving style's like. I like to sit actually quite close to the steering wheel because I sort of feel like I'm in control, but you can obviously fully adjust it and the seat down, up, backwards, wherever you. But yeah, so just coming to the roundabout now, so hopefully it should clear. Fingers crossed. Hopefully he's not going the same way as me. Give it a squirt. Power delivery is instant. There's no sort of turbo lag. So obviously this is the same engine as the M235i, so it's a straight 6 turbocharged, not a twin turbo but a twin scroll turbo. So basically means you've got the turbo inside that sort of spools at different RPM. You've got a bigger sort of I don't even know what I'm talking about, so I'm just going to shut up. But anyway, yeah, it's a twin scroll turbo, so basically I believe it powers up at different RPMs inside, etc., which gives you sort of like that linear, almost NA type experience. So yeah, so pretty instant throttle response. So I've got the car in sport mode at the moment. I'm not going to put it in Sport Plus because it's a bit drizzly, and like I said, before the channel, it's not my car. These are not my cars, so I don't think it'd be fair for me to drive them, out of control as such. But anyway, probably think I'm quite boring for that sense, but make up your own mind. Okay, finally a bit clear road. Drop down gears. Now again, a bit like the M4, that sound is pushed through the speakers. It's artificial, so it's not actually real, which is a big shame. Like these cars sound pretty good anyway. But I suppose they feel they had to enhance that by putting it through the speakers. Now, in terms of steering, it's quite weighted. Don't get me wrong, it's no sort of hydraulic system. It's no sort of analog feel you get in an old sort of classic car or classic BMW for that matter. But handles pretty well. Very nimble. Now, like I said, I don't know. I've never driven an M2, so I don't know how in terms of comparison. But I expect this nowhere near as nimble and as good as that chassis, because that chassis is just incredible. From a lot of reviews and things I've read, those chassis are amazing. Drop down gear. Handles extremely well. Wow, that is pretty epic. Very impressive. I love the fact that it sorry, I'm not looking at the camera, apologies. I love the fact that obviously you get the rev matching as well. Very nimble, very agile, handles very well, damping is really good. It's actually quite comfortable to drive as well. It's not crashy, it's not sort of like a hot hatch or a fully blown sort of track car or anything. You also get a good feel for the brakes. You feel quite confident, driving. You can sort of push on with no sort of worry about having to brake at last minute. So my question is, would you buy this over an M2? And honestly, obviously I haven't driven an M2, so I'm not going to be able to, like I said before, give you a right or wrong, if you know what I mean. But the things to consider is, that we spoke about earlier, was horsepower per ton, very similar. Okay, in terms of handling, agility, and suspension, damping, I'm sure the M2 is quite superior in terms of that. And the looks, you can't beat the M2 looks. Very aggressive. This is quite subtle. It's sort of like a bit of like a sleeper car almost. But nonetheless, a very impressive car. And same gearbox again. Again, the engine, obviously, depending which one you get as well. I'm talking about the Gen 1 M2. The Gen 2 M2 the comp version had the M4 engine, so that's a bit of a different beast. Yeah, I'm talking about the M2 normal sort of version. And the other thing to consider again is price. I mean, the M2s when they first came out were 10 grand more expensive than one of these, an M240. So, you know, you got to think to yourself, is it really worth that extra sort of, you know, 10 grand almost? I don't know. Honestly, I don't know. You know, with a few sort of suspension mods, brake mods, power upgrades, you know, you could turn this to a bit of a beast. You know, there's plenty out there that have tuned these. So, personally, I think, obviously, I'm not driven an M2. I, on paper, would be tempted to get one of these. But personal opinion, again, completely sort of unbiased, as I've never driven an M2 or anything. But yeah. But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope it's been sort of informative, or you've enjoyed just me talking about rubbish. But anyway, thank you for watching. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. I produce videos probably once a week, if not a few more, depending on my schedule with kids and life and just stuff in general. Don't forget, if you are interested in this car, I'll leave a link in the description below. Thank you to Rod and Road Cars for allowing me to be able to take this car out and do a sort of review for you guys. Like I said, if you are interested, then go and visit the website and all the details are on there. And thank you very much. And I'll see you guys very soon. Bye.